She chose the wrong head. Gasps rippled like knives. Steel scraped. The hall held its breath. Lyra didn't flinch. She placed the moon-iron crown on Prince Calder anyway. It settled with a soft ring. The advisors went white. The High Marshal half drew his blade. Priests began to chant forbidden lines under their breath. The crown whispered, clear as a bell only she could hear. Right heart, wrong head. Her pulse slammed. She kept her face still. She had expected that voice. She had begged for it. And still it cut. Calder looked up, eyes wide, more boy than ruler. Lyra? He whispered. Is this a mistake? She squeezed his shoulder. Bo, she said. Let them finish the oath? Across the dais, Prince Ryan, perfect, trained to rule, stared like she had slapped him. A line of cold pride on his mouth. All of court shimmered between two fates. Tapestries showed the comet, the river of kings, the Volf sun that burned traitors. Lyra stood in the center of the old story, hand steady, stomach on fire. By law. Hissed Lord Vex, the black-plumed advisor. By law the crown chooses. Not the keeper. Lyra turned. The crown has chosen. He sneered. Then why isn't it singing? Why isn't it shining? His voice rose, feeding the crowd. Why does the Hall of Names stay dark? Because it's speaking only to me, she thought. Because it lied to my mother. Because the last king died screaming when he wore a head he did not deserve. The priests finished. The horn of Riverstone thundered once. Outside, thunder answered. The comet's tail, pale and green, hung in daylight like a watching eye. Calder rose. He swallowed and tried to look tall. She saw the tremble he hid. She had carried him from a burning tower when he was 5. She had taught him to set a fracture and to gut a fish. He had the right heart. He had always had the right heart, but the wrong head. Ryan stepped forward, boots clicking. People parted like frost. He bowed to the guardians and did not look at Lyra. There is still the trial, he said evenly. If the true bond exists, the crown will wake the hall. Lyra's throat tightened. The trial meant blood. It meant the crown would drink, and the Hall of Names, the whispering wall of every king and queen, would blaze or go black. If it went black, she would be stripped. Keep her no more. Exiled to the salt. Calder inhaled. I will endure it. Lyra held his gaze. He thought she had faith. He didn't see the calculation behind her eyes, the map she'd drawn in sleepless nights. She needed the hall dark. She needed the court to panic. She needed the wrong crown on the wrong head to wake something else. The something else moved now. A shadow behind the stained glass. A tremor under the dais stones. The old story said the crown was more than metal. It was memory. It was a prison. It wanted out? Right heart, wrong head. It breathed again, amused. Keeper, do you think you can trick me? She kept her hands folded. Watch me, she thought. They went to the hall. Torches burned coal blue. Names curled across the stone in smoke-light letters, back through time. Lyra felt them breathe. Felt her mother's curse in her bones. Keepers must never love the one they crown. Love blinds. Love kills. Love rewrites law. She had loved the wrong prince. At the plinth, Calder raised his hand. Ryan cut his palm with the ritual knife. Blood dripped onto the crown. Steam rose, sweet and metallic. Speak, river, intoned the high priest. Speak, crone. The hall waited. Lyra listened to her own heartbeat, to distant drums under the earth. Nothing. Then the letters stirred. They glowed, then dimmed. A low murmur rolled through the court like bees trapped in amber. Vex smiled with all his teeth. A false binding, he said softly. Keeper, you have broken the line. Calder's face went white. He looked at Lyra like she had betrayed the sun. She opened her mouth and the twist hit, the crown flared. Not gold, not blue. A deep river green, like moonlight underwater. The names didn't blaze. They turned. They turned toward her, hundreds of carved faces in the stone, pivoting with aching. Impossible sound, eyes of old rulers opening, focusing. Aligning. On Lyra, the voice filled the hall. Not him, the crown said, delighted. You? Her knees almost buckled. Ice crawled up her spine. The crown was not waking a king. It was waking a queen. It was waking a keeper who had broken the forbidden's rule and so crossed the bridge no keeper should cross. Love had rewritten law and the law loved her back. Vex's smile snapped. Blasphemy, he spat. The keeper cannot be bound. Ryan's mask cracked. Shock, rage, something else. Please don't let it be hope, she thought. Calder reached for her. Lyra, he whispered, trembling. What does it want? She swallowed. The crown hummed like a hive. Right heart, it purred. Right head? I won't, she thought. I can't. It showed her a flash. A city drowned beneath the river if she refused. Ryan dead on a field of glass. Calder torn by the Volf-sun. Her mother's voice, soft and tired. You cannot outrun what wants you. Lyra stepped back. I am keeper, she said aloud. I serve the line. I do not sit it. Ryan moved closer. If the crown chose you, he said, voice low, you cannot hide. If you run, the advisors will put it on anyone they can control. Vex will rule through a puppet. The people will burn. And if I accept? She asked. You'll follow me? He hesitated. His eyes were storm. But there was respect there. And fear, I will test you, he said. Harder than I would test any king. Calder's hand was in hers. Warm, trusting. I will protect you, he promised, like a child swearing to stop the tide. The hall listened. The names burned a little brighter, as if leaning forward. Lyra looked at the crown, at the long knives under velvet, at the comet burning green in the daylight window. She knew Vex would strike if she reached for it. She knew the priests would call this an omen and a curse. She knew the river would rise either way. She closed her eyes. She saw another path, thin as spider silk. A bargain. A trap for a trap? Very well, she thought to the crown. But on my terms. She lifted her hand. Arrows hissed. Vex shouted, Take her! The crown leaped like a live thing off Calder's head. Spinning in green fire, straight toward her brow dotted touched. The world tilted. Her bones remembered other winters. Other wars. 10,000 whispers crashed into her skull and then a single clear voice, the oldest of all. Daughter! The river has waited. Lyra opened her eyes as the guards surged. The torches blew sideways. Water roared up from the stone cracks, cold and shining. Shaping itself into a wall between her and the blades, she breathed once, calm, terrified, alive. Stand down, she said. And the water leaned, listening. Vex raised a black hand to strike her with a word of unmaking. Something moved behind him. A shadow with a crown of thorns stepping out of the names in the wall. Mother? Lyra whispered. The shadow smiled and raised a finger to her lips. Want the next blow, the next secret, the next betrayal? Tap follow so you don't miss part 2.